Most founders think getting a license is just a compliance issue, but in reality, it's a leadership test. Across Singapore, Hong Kong, and Dubai, regulators aren't just looking for clean documents. They're reading your mindset. They want to know, do you understand the risks? Are you committed to protecting users? Can you lead under pressure? And the truth is, a lot of founders flinch. So in this video, I'm going to show you what it takes to lead in a regulated market in 2025. I'll break down licensing in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Dubai. Let's get one thing straight. Leadership in regulated markets is expensive. In Hong Kong alone, the full licensing journey can cost 12 to 20 million US dollars, including consulting, capital reserves, and first-year operations. That's not just the license, it's for the infrastructure needed to be trusted. In Singapore and Dubai, the numbers are more discreet, but make no mistake, if you're building in these markets, you need to invest heavily in your compliance stack, local entity setup, legal opinions, cybersecurity, AML/CFT systems, and ongoing audits. And here's the kicker. Most founders underestimate the true timeline and costs. They think they'll be licensed in 6 months. In reality, it can take 12 to 24 months just to get approvals. If you haven't budgeted for that gap, your runway disappears fast. So if you're leading in these spaces, you need to think differently about capital. You're not just raising to ship product. You're raising for resilience. You're raising for regulatory design. And most importantly, you're raising for trust. That's what markets like Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai reward. Let's map out the regulatory terrain. In Singapore, under the Payment Services Act, crypto startups need a license for digital payment token services. You need to comply with AML/CFT standards, technology and cyber risk guidelines, and customer protection measures like custody segregation. Promotions to the public are restricted, and local incorporation is mandatory. You also need a Singapore-based executive director who understands the business and who can communicate with MAS, the Monetary Authority of Singapore. In Hong Kong, the Securities and Futures Commission oversees the VATP license, required for crypto exchanges targeting retail users. You must be locally incorporated, maintaining 5 million Hong Kong dollars in paid-up capital, and appoint 2 responsible officers approved by the SFC. Token listings are limited to pre-approved assets, and exchanges must comply with strict AML and travel rule policies. The process is complex, expensive, and favors players with long-term commitment. In fact, only a handful of companies have successfully been licensed so far. In Dubai, licensing falls under VARA, the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. Licenses cover exchange, custody, and issuance. You need to meet cybersecurity and risk governance standards, as well as investor protection frameworks as well. VARA is innovation-friendly but still demanding. And while the UAE doesn't always publish full licensing costs, founders report intense scrutiny and a multi-step approval journey. Different cities, different laws, different rulebooks, but one constant: they all want leaders, not just applicants. If you want to lead in these markets, don't just ask, how do I get the license? But ask, how do I lead in a way that earns the license? So what does it mean to lead in this space? Let me break it down into a few core traits that separate strategic founders from everyone else. You build a compliance-first culture. That doesn't mean you're risk-averse. It means you know how to design products with regulatory frameworks in mind. Your engineering and product teams don't just ship fast. They build with controls that won't get flagged. You secure a runway for the long haul. Getting licensed might take 12 to 24 months. That's a very long time to sustain a team and pay legal and compliance fees, and keep your roadmap moving. Founders who survive this period aren't just well-funded, they're well-paced. You engage with regulators. The best founders don't wait to be audited. They initiate conversations. They join working groups, attend briefings, and listen for what's coming down the pipe. This keeps them one step ahead. Just like in Singapore, we have a crypto trade body called Access, and many of the founders as well as compliance officers are in it to know what's the newest updates and so on. You will have them in Dubai as well as in Hong Kong. You will have to communicate clearly. Your board, your team, your investors, and your regulators all want consistency. If your story about compliance shifts between audiences, it's a red flag. And here's the most overlooked trait. You build conviction. In these markets, licensing isn't just a goal, it's a signal. It says you're serious about your users, your market, and the trust it takes to build something that lasts. Leadership isn't how fast you move, it's how clearly, responsibly you lead when the stakes are high. Let's look at a few real-world examples that show what strategic leadership looks like in practice. Hashkey Group in Hong Kong didn't just chase a license, they built towards it. They invested early in compliance infrastructure, aligned with regulators on public messaging, and ultimately became one of the first fully licensed crypto firms under the new VATB regime. Post-approval, they raised nearly $100 million, not because of hype, but because of credibility. Panther Trade and Yax became two of the first exchanges licensed under the updated VATP rules in 2025. What made them stand out? They didn't try to fight the framework, they leaned into it. Both had strong local teams, tight compliance ops, and clear governance structures that gave the SFC confidence. In Dubai, giants like Coinbase and Binance secured VARA approvals, but even for them the process wasn't automatic. They had to build UAE-specific governance, adapt custody models, and engage directly with regulators. It was leadership in action, not shortcuts. When you lead like a licensee, even before you're licensed, you change how regulators, investors, and users see your business. That's the mindset that wins in 2025. If you're leading a startup that touches finance, here are 5 things to get right this year. Number 1, audit your leadership mindset. Are you building fast and loose, or building to last? Too many founders think speed is the only edge, but in regulated markets, speed without structure just creates risk. Number 2, map your jurisdictional strategy. Don't just follow the hype. Some founders pick Singapore or Dubai without realizing what the regulator really expects. Your market entry plan should be tied to your licensing readiness, not just ease of incorporation. Model your regulatory costs upfront. Think beyond legal fees. You'll need capital for compliance systems, external auditors, tech reviews, local staff, and possibly months of non-revenue operations. Underestimating this kills momentum fast. Number 3, hire smart early. If your first compliance hire comes after you submit the license, you're too late. Start early and make sure they're not just checking boxes. They're guiding your product, your communications, and your market fit. Number 4, train your team. Regulatory fluency isn't just for lawyers. Your product managers, engineers, and ops teams need to understand why certain choices matter, especially when speaking with regulators or partners. Founders who nail these 5 areas don't just pass licensing. They set themselves up to scale with trust and to lead in markets where execution really matters. Want to lead in regulated markets without flying blind? I've put together a leadership readiness checklist with everything you should be thinking about before you even apply. Just comment below "I want the checklist" and I'll send you the link. And if you're serious about scaling in regulated markets with experienced eyes on your strategy, check out azentiqnexus.com. Subscribe for real-world insights into what it takes to lead a fintech, crypto, and compliance-heavy industries. Thanks for watching. Let's build smart.